Let's talk about the Draw panel in the Home ribbon. We're going to quickly go through the basic Draw commands. Again, down at the bottom of the screen, we have all of our toggles turned off. We'll turn our drawing aids back on in another video to show you how those work, but for right now, let's just leave those off so we can just quickly see how these Draw commands work. The line command, when you pick line and you pick a point, you can pick multiple points. You can right mouse click or hit enter to end the command. In another video called the line command, we go more in depth of how to engage and cut off commands. So the line command does exactly what it says. It makes lines. When you hover over the line, you can see that it'll highlight different line segments. And that's it. It's a line. Let's go to erase. And I'm going to clear my screen. Another video called the erase command will help you decide how you would like to erase best. Let's move on to the Polyline command. Polyline looks exactly like line. However, if you look at your command line, you have a lot of options. When I go to line, it just says specify first point. I pick a point, it says specify next point. I pick another point, and that's all you get. When I click Polyline, it says specify start point, but then it gives me shortcut options. I can either use arc, half length, half width, length, undo, width. So it has intelligence. You can also get to these shortcut menus by right mouse clicking, and you have the same options. So I can click my points. I can right mouse click and click enter to cut that command off. Here's the main difference. When you make a line, it's individual segments of lines. When I make a polyline, they're all connected. It's all one piece. You can also change the geometry of a polyline. When you're in Polyline, you can right mouse click and select arc. Well, now you're drawing arcs instead of just lines. You can right mouse click. You can change your radius, your width, your direction. You can go back to line. So there's a lot of options in the Polyline command. You can change the width of the line. You can change the start width, the ending width. So play with that command to get more comfortable with it, but Polyline does a lot of things. I'm going to erase my screen again, and let's talk about circle. Anytime you see a command that has a little arrow with it, that means there's more going on. So if I click it, you see I have all these options for circles. So we're going to touch on a couple of these. The standard center radius circle, click it, pick a point, pull your mouse. You can see the dotted line is showing you that it's working from the center out, which is the radius. You click a point and it draws another circle. Now you can also enter the size of the circle you would like. AutoCAD understands decimals and fractions. You can use either one at any time. So if I click my circle command, center radius is on top. If I just click it and pick a point, if I want a circle that is 1 1/4 radius, there is a way that you have to type in fractions in order for AutoCAD to understand it. You have to type in 1-1/4. So you can see down in the command line, I've typed 1 1/4, but you have to have the dash in between the whole number and the fraction in order for it to understand it. When I hit enter, it's going to create a 1 1/4 circle. AutoCAD doesn't care if you use decimals or fractions. You can use them at any time. But if you forget to type in that dash, if I go to circle radius and click a point and I just put 1 1/4, notice I left the dash out, it will convert it. That's 11/4. So that's a very different size circle. You also have center diameter. So if I pick the center diameter and pick a point and move my mouse, notice the dashed line. It's showing you that it is twice the radius. So that's the diameter of the circle. Click another point and you have a diameter circle. Notice that the diameter circle is now on top of my command. So you have to be careful when you pick to make sure you're picking the right circle. If I open this up, tan radius is also a very useful command. If I click tan radius, it's asked me for a tangent circle. So I'm going to pick one circle, I'll pick the other circle, and then I'm going to give it a radius, let's say 3, and now it creates that circle tangent to my objects. The points that you pick tangent are very important. If I pick the tan radius circle again, and I pick on the outside of the circles, and then I tell it to be a 3-inch radius, it's very different. It's going to draw that in a different way. So your tangent points dictate how it's going to create those circles. Okay, let's get out of this. Notice I erased a different way that time. So again, check out the erase video to show you different ways to erase your objects. The arc command, it has the little arrow, so that means there's more going on. Open it up. Lots of different options for arc. Whenever you're drawing, depending on what you're trying to make and how it's constructed, it'll dictate the way you use arc. So you may have to have the start point, the end point, and a radius. You may need the start, the center, and an angle. So however you need to make the arc, it will give you the option for arc. Let's just pick a 3-point arc right now just so you can see how the command's going to work. You pick a point, pick another point, move your mouse, there's your arc. There's your arc. So pretty simple, pretty standard. The rectangle command, it has an arrow beside it. If you open that up, rectangle and polygon live together. The rectangle command, if you click rectangle and pick 2 points, it makes a rectangle. There are some options in rectangle, so when you click the rectangle command, you see you have the option to chamfer the corners, you have the fillets, the thickness, the width. If you go ahead and pick a point, then you have more options for the area, the dimension, and the rotation. So again, play with the commands in here and use them as best you can to figure out how they work. I'm not going to go as in depth into each command. I just want you to be able to get your hands in the command and see how they work. I'm going to clear my screen again. Let's open up rectangle by clicking on the little arrow and select polygon. Now polygon works a little different. All the other commands we've used, we've clicked the command and then picked a point. Polygon's going to ask you questions first. So when you click polygon, your command line says specify number of sides. Now, the number 4 is in the brackets. So anything that is already in a bracket, that is the default. You don't have to type that over. If you would like the default, you can just hit enter on your keyboard. And it has moved me on in my command. Now it says specify center point. So I'm going to pick a center point on my screen. And then it's going to ask me, would I like this polygon inscribed in a circle or circumscribed about a circle? You have to look at the part that you're drawing to figure out, is it inscribed or circumscribed? Most of the time, the parts that we're doing in class, those are circumscribed. So you can right mouse click and select circumscribed. And there is your polygon. 4 sides means it's a square. When you click another point, it draws your polygon. When you click polygon, you can change the number of sides. I'm going to put in 8 and hit enter. pick my center point. It defaulted to circumscribed because that was the last thing I did. So I can hit enter and now it creates my polygon. Okay, let's get rid of that. You have the ellipse command. You have center ellipse, axis ellipse, elliptical arc, center. It works from the center out. The axis, you're picking the outside axis and then picking the secondary axis to create it. So play with this command, click a point, pick another point, move your mouse, and there you're creating your ellipse. If I use an axis end, pick one point, pick another, and then I can create my ellipse. So again, it just depends on how you need to create that ellipse as to which command that you pick. The hatch command. Hatch doesn't work unless you have an object to hatch. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. Now notice polygon's on top, so you have to remember that rectangle and polygon live together. So I'm going to click rectangle. The hatch command has hatch, gradient, and boundary. Honestly, if you just click hatch, you're going to be able to get to all those other commands, because as soon as you select hatch, your ribbon's going to change. And this is the hatch ribbon. It defaults to pick points, so if I move my cursor, it's going to give me a highlight of what it's going to fill. There's many patterns you can choose from. You can scroll through the patterns, or you can hit the bottom arrow and see a list of all the patterns that we have. The gradients, here's your gradient patterns. If you pick a gradient pattern, it'll give you the option to change the colors. So when you click a point, it's going to fill your object. As soon as you hit close hatch creation, you've hatched your pattern. So if I click this, it is all one piece, and we'll get into grips and things like that later. The word draw in the panel has a little arrow. So if you click, you open that up and you have more options. It has a push pin on the side. If I click off of this, it rolls that back up. If I click draw and click the push pin and click off, it will leave that panel opened up. So there's some more commands in here that we're going to use in class. We're going to use spline. If you click points, it creates an elastic line everywhere you pick. This one is a spline CV for control vertices. It's just a little different way. Notice how it's showing you the vertices as it moves. Different type of spline command. I'm going to get out of this. The next command is construction line. If you click construction line, don't click a point yet. You have options for the shortcut menus. You can either click on them in the command line, or you can right mouse click. Let's pick horizontal. That's going to place a horizontal construction line on my screen. If you right mouse click, it's going to cut the command off. If you click construction line again, don't pick in the screen, but right mouse click. You can select angle. If you need a 45-degree line, you can type in 45 and hit enter. And now you have a 45-degree angle attached to your mouse. You can right mouse click and cut that command off. If you click construction line, if you don't pick any of your shortcuts and you just click on your screen, you now have that construction line attached to your cursor, and everywhere you select, it will place a line. You have revision clouds, you have donuts, you have lots of little options that you can play with. So feel free to click commands in the draw, look at the command line, see what it's telling you to do. But that was just a quick overview of what you can do with the draw commands.